guys, welcome to Collider Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm your host, Ashley Mova, and this is the daily show. We give you all the latest news from the world of movies, plus some insight into what it all means. Leading off the show today is John Campea.
Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, coming to you from right here at the Collider Video Studios here in Burbank, California. It's so good to be back from Orlando.
Also here is Mark Ellis.
I miss Florida because they accepted me wearing flip-flops. It's part of their culture. Now I'm back in LA where people judge me.
Also here is Jeremy Jahns.
Judge not the Jedi mullet I came back with. My hair is growing out. I don't know if it's James Isaac Neutron or what, but I'm never cutting it.
Also here, Kristian Harloff.
Yeah, you actually get a ticket in Florida if you're not wearing flip-flops.
Well, listen, guys, as we stated, we just, last night we got back from Orlando. We were off at Star Wars Celebration with so many of you guys. And it was an incredible experience. It was wonderful. But the best part of it wasn't even, the Rebels panel. It wasn't the amazing 40th anniversary panel. It wasn't the Last Jedi panel. The most amazing part of it, I think, for us here was meeting thousands of you who were there and were either came to our panels or came and spoke to us in person. I lost count of how many pictures we took and stuff like that, but it was wonderful. But, we had a couple of panels. We had a Jedi Council panel. We had the Schmodown panel. I'm going to show you this really interesting picture from the Schmodown panel that we had. If you guys want to bring that up here. This is the line, and you can't even see all of it there.
Yeah.
This is the line for the Schmodown panel. The room held 600 people. I got conflicting reports. Anywhere from 500 to 700 people got turned away. And we were even talking to people for the Jedi panel that said they got in line like 2 hours early and they didn't get in. Yeah. So it was just that type of a thing. And like the amount of outpouring support we got from you guys was awesome. We picked up this little thing here. Apparently it's going for $500 on eBay right now.
Is it really?
Yeah. So
wow.
This is the poster for The Last Jedi that they handed out to us for those of us who were there at the panel and saw the trailer for the first time. They handed this out, which I thought was pretty awesome. And just a whole bunch of stuff was great. Again, a special thank you to all you guys. Now, sticking on the theme of Star Wars, what's our first story today?
During a new interview with ABC during Star Wars Celebration this past weekend, Lucasfilm chief Kathleen Kennedy revealed that Carrie Fisher will make her final bow as General Leia Organa in the upcoming Star Wars The Last Jedi. The news comes just as Fisher's brother Todd Fisher said they would use footage of Carrie from the last two movies in the series to fill in Episode 9. Now Kennedy has cleared up the matter, confirming the actress won't be in 9, but will be in The Last Jedi quite a bit. Kennedy also said, "We finished everything in 8, and Carrie is absolutely phenomenal in the movie," Kennedy said. Unfortunately, Carrie passed away, so by the time we were well underway with Episode 9 in our thoughts, we had not written the script yet, but regrouped, and we started over in January. John, thoughts on Kathleen Kennedy's comments about Carrie Fisher not being in Episode 9 and what it means for the character?
Well, first of all, and I saw some discussion about this and some debate, like was Carrie Fisher's brother lying? What I'm guessing probably happened was they, Lucasfilm probably wanted to cover all their bases, and they probably did have that discussion with Carrie's family and extended to say, hey, we've got this footage, this other footage of Carrie and stuff like that, and had a discussion about whether or not it would be cool to use it in Episode 9. So I don't think Carrie's brother was lying about that conversation at all. It just sounds to me like they hadn't finalized their plans and what they want to do. They just want to know what their options were. And ultimately, they decided to go in the direction of not using footage of Carrie. Now, as all of us have been pointing out online, and I'm sure you guys have been writing this to us too, is that Kathleen Kennedy stopped short of saying Leia wouldn't be in Episode 9. She just said Carrie wouldn't be there. So that opens up a couple of possibilities. Number one, that they just won't use Leia in Episode 9, and that's a very strong possibility. The other possibility is that they will use Leia and either do more CGI magic a la Rogue One, or do they do a recast? And there's a lot of very passionate feelings on both sides about the absolutely yes, if their story calls for Leia, absolutely recast. I personally happen to be on that side, that I think you honor Carrie Fisher by carrying on the Leia character. I don't think you let the character die at that point. I think it's disrespectful to Carrie Fisher if the story of Leia was supposed to continue and you don't continue it. I think that's disrespectful. However, there are people who are equally as passionate that feel like you cannot recast Princess Leia, that it is disrespectful to Carrie to continue on the thing of the story of Leia. So there's very passionate thoughts in there. So Kristian, let's start with you, because I know you weren't there for our final Jedi Council wrap-up at Celebration. Number one, do you think that we're going to see Leia in Episode 9? And if so, what do you think their strategy is going to be?
Well, it's tricky because the one thing, though, I don't think it'll be the CGI one because they were pretty clear and said they weren't going to do that whatsoever. And if she was in CGI, that would be lying because if you looked at Rogue One, Peter Cushing is in Rogue One. That's his face. He's in it. So if Carrie Fisher's face wasn't in CGI, she's in it, and I don't think that's going to happen. The two options, I think, that the way that they're going to do it is either, like you said, recasting completely, whether they get someone like a Judi Dench or someone, someone completely different, or someone unknown. Who knows? The other way to do it is if they redid the script and they just kind of had her off on another mission, mentioning similar to what they did with Paul Walker in this last Furious movie, like that the character is still around with us, but off doing other things. I think that's trickier to do because she's going to have such an impact in Episode 8. I think that recasting is the way to go. I think that I also don't know what the storyline is. I don't know how much of the storyline can be wrapped up in 8.
And that's so important.
If it's open-ended, if they left it that there's more to be, if there's no reconciliation with Leia and Kylo Ren, there may not be at all, but if the story needs to continue, then they need to recast to tell the story. I think that's, and I think that the fans at first, obviously when you hear it, that someone else is going to be playing Princess Leia, you're like, wait, no. But I think that if you sit back and you think about it, after seeing Episode 8, we'll see what happens in 8, but after seeing, you'll be like, I understand why they had to do that. It's not an easy thing to tackle here.
It's a difficult thing. We as human beings, I do this. I think everybody at this table does it, and I'm sure you do it too. Forming opinions before we have all the information. It's natural. We should do that, absolutely. But then we change our opinions as more information becomes available. Jeremy, let's go over to you. Number one, do you think, and it's all speculation at this point, but do you think we'll see the character of Leia in Episode 9? And if so, do you think they'll recast it?
Okay. Well, one of the things she was saying, Kathleen Kennedy was saying, was that, did I hear that right? In her going, in January, we revisited the script.
Yeah.
So if they revisited the script, I would think if they were going to recast, they wouldn't have to revisit the script. They'd be like, all right, Leia trucks on as we intended. So the fact that there is a rewrite means there's either less Leia or possibly no Leia. And I'm with you that they have to.
Good observation.
Yeah, well, a lot of times I have those without cameras rolling, John, but
Let's not overdo it. There was one good observation.
Well, I'm taking that. That's my 2017 right there. But so I'm thinking they might wrap it up at 8. And in terms of how could she be wrapped up in Episode 8, the only way I can think is if Kylo Ren doesn't make it past Episode 8. Does he die? Because if he's gone, then really, their story is done at that point. So I'm wondering what Episode 9 will have and whether or not it was intended from the beginning. I have no idea. But the fact, going back to it, I think they might end her arc after 8. And I just hope that it's natural. I hope it's not a, where'd she go? She should be here right now, So, and if it is a case of we need Leia because she didn't wrap up in Episode 8, I think they should recast. I'm with you guys.
And Mark, so sorry not to cut you off, but I think another thing that could happen also, and I know you and I talked about this, Mark, was that remember that Luke and Leia, part of the same family line, a lot of the storylines that Leia was going to have maybe in Episode 9 with the redemption of Kylo Ren, those could be shifted towards Luke now,
absolutely.
They could be, but I mean, Star Wars loves closing arcs like that in the proper way. They're like the Fast and the Furious. They're all about family. So if you need to close that arc and you want to do so in Episode 9, I didn't take Kathleen Kennedy's comments to be that they got together in January and rewrote the script for Episode 9. I took that. She said they regrouped, which is them suffering the loss of a huge presence in the Star Wars universe, getting together in January and saying, what can we do with this? What are our options? And so when you look at it from the Fisher estate perspective, I think they probably saw Rogue One. Todd Fisher probably watched Rogue One, and after seeing that, he said, you can use the footage that she's already shot if you guys need it, because of what they're able to do with certain red pilots in there, where it looks like the footage that they shot way back in 1977 fits seamlessly into Rogue One, a lot more so than Tarkin or young Princess Leia did at the end. I'll disagree with Kristian a little bit, where that was not Peter Cushing in the movie. And so I'm not going to hold Kathleen Kennedy to say, well, you said that Carrie Fisher wasn't going to be in it, and now they're CGIing her. that's not her lying to us. I
They
wouldn't
said
take that.
definitively they will not do that.
If they said they're not going to CGI, that's one thing. But if you say you're not using Carrie Fisher in there, you can still do a motion capture performance in my book, and you're not coming out lying. But the problem with Lucasfilm right now is that they have such a shroud of secrecy around what's going to happen in Episode 8. And so if you say definitively we're going to have the Princess Leia character or Carrie Fisher, or we're going to recast or anything, that gives us a key plot point in Episode 8, that she's making it out of this alive, that this general, who's in a very ominous position right now with the resistance against the First Order, is going to make it out of this movie alive. I don't know if they're worried about taking away some of the dramatic effect of the events of Episode 8 if we walk into that movie in December and we say, oh, well, we know she's going to survive this movie. So maybe that's why it is, but I would love to have this situation put to bed, because I think it does more of a disservice the more days that go on and we're unsure of what the future of Leia is going to be. I would love for them to come out and say, this is what our plan is going to be. Unfortunately, I don't think they can do that, because General Leia is going to be in some tough positions in Episode 8, and we don't know how she's going to make it out of those, if she's going to make it out of those. So you can't really confirm one way or the other, if you're the movie studio, that this person is going to survive to see another movie.
Yeah, and I think that's the key thing, too. I think they're in a position where they can't tell us how they're going to handle it until we see the movie, because what are they going to say to us? Like, I think you're alluding to this. What are they going to say? Hey, guys, look, it's not a question about Episode 9 because General Organa dies in Episode 8. They can't tell us that in advance. And you can't even really tell us we've decided we're going to use this in Episode 9, because now you just told us that whatever harrowing situation Leia's in Episode 8, we know she's going to make it out. So they're in a tough spot. I think something that you were alluding to, Kristian, which I thought was really insightful, was the idea that it's fair for all of us to speculate about what Lucasfilm will do. I mean, that's what we do as movie fans. But I hope this for myself, and I hope this for all of us as fans, is that when Lucasfilm, when it does get revealed about what approach Lucasfilm is going to take, whether it's Leia doesn't continue in line at all, or she does continue and it's for whatever reason it's CGI, or they do continue and it's a recast, I hope that none of us get upset about what they decide to do until we see the movie and then fully understand why they made that decision. And then once that happens, then it's open free game again for us to discuss.
Don't worry, John. The internet will never take something and get upset before they see the full product.
Okay? The internet is not irrational, nor are any of us. All right, let's move on. What's the next story?
Deadline is reporting that Beauty and the Beast director Bill Condon is in early talks to helm the remake of The Bride of Frankenstein for Universal Pictures Monsters Universe. Condon has said in many interviews that the property is one of his favorites, with Condon even including a sort of homage to the James Whale film in the climax of his Twilight Breaking Dawn Part 1. The Bride of Frankenstein remake is being produced by The Mummy director and writer Alex Kurtzman and Chris Morgan from a script by Jurassic Park's David Koepp. No release date has been set. Jeremy, what do you think of Bill Condon possibly directing Bride of Frankenstein?
Well, there's a big part of me that's like, all right, Beauty and the Beast crossed $1 billion. It's totally all right. Yeah, sure. That sounds good. Beasts and love stories. And then you're like, oh, wait, monsters and another love story that were vampires. That's not good that he did the Breaking Dawn series. I really could flip a coin as to whether or not I care about this whatsoever. I didn't even know we had a Frankenstein movie. We haven't even had that yet in this monster universe. And they're already talking about the Bride of Frankenstein. I'm just kind of agnostic to this whole thing. I'm like, I haven't even seen a movie in this new monster movie universe. I don't know the tone. I don't know how it's stitching together. I don't know how it. That was actually no pun. When the bona fide comic at the table says it's amazing, I'm blushing. But I mean, I think it's 50-50. I feel like I need to err on the side of caution on this one and see how it goes first. So before I have any opinion whatsoever, let's see The Mummy. Let's do that.
You know, I have to like this story for a couple of reasons. Number one, I think Condon is a great name. Like, the dude has an Oscar on his shelf. He wrote Gods and Monsters, I believe. He was nominated for another Academy Award at the same time. And look, I don't care how popular, I don't give a flying flip about whether what I say is popular or not. I liked the last Twilight movie. I liked the last, I didn't think it was amazing or anything like that, but I watched, I thought, that's not a bad little movie. I think they did. And Condon is the one who took questionable source material and managed to put together what I thought was the most watchable of that franchise. And when you look overall about what Universal has been doing, the in front of the camera part, they've been going all in with trying to get the biggest and best talent. And when you get a guy like Bill Condon, an Academy Award winner like this, and get him now behind the camera, it looks like they're going to go all in behind the camera as well. So on those bases, I'm going to say I think this is pretty good news.
I mean, I'm with Jeremy in the fact that like, it's kind of putting the horse before the cart, or whatever, the other way around. But
no, that's the right way to do it.
That's the traditional way of doing it.
I am not working on a lot of sleep, and I call myself when I said it.
Yeah, Star Wars Celebration does this
I
to
know,
a
I
person.
JT'd it there, but what I will say is
Put the cart before the fish.
Thank you. But what I will say, it is going to be. I already see the memes. I see them coming. This is where we're supposed to be. The horse saying it. But Jeremy is right. I think that when you have this monster universe, it hasn't even debuted yet, and it's very similar to kind of that Bad Boys 2 and 3. We're going to make Bad Boys 3, 4, 5, and 6, and we don't even know if people want to see it yet. But it's also another thing is that they're locking down directors, and it doesn't necessarily mean this movie's going to be made right away. It just means that we have someone in place that should it be made, we got this guy to do it, and looking at it that way, then yeah, it's a good choice. But let's get Frankenstein out there. Let's get all the Mummy movie. Let's get Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Let's put a Wolfman movie out. Let's get all the movies out there that were already announced and see how they fit in before we start just throwing more and more and more.
Yeah, John, I'm with Kristian as well. I don't want to put the cheese before the wheels here. I want to make sure that Bill Condon, he's not a guy like if I read Bill Condon's directing something, it doesn't get me out of bed in the morning. I'm not like, yes, this is the right guy to do it. But look, he made some Twilight movies, so he's already worked with vampires and werewolves, so why not round it out with Bride of Frankenstein? Now, we need to see that Frankenstein, obviously. I want to see what tone they go for with here. But I'd be excited to see a new Bride of Frankenstein telling, because it's been a long time since 1935 and Elsa Lanchester's incredible performance as the Bride of Frankenstein. And if you're going to have Frankenstein, I believe Javier Bardem is already inked to be playing the Frankenstein's monster, if I'm not mistaken, right?
I think
he the
that is
monster
correct.
or is he Dr.
Or is he
Frankenstein?
Dr. Frankenstein? It's a good question.
I think he could play either one very well. He's a good-looking man. He can also be a nutcase in movies. So do whatever you want. And so if you have somebody who's made that much money worldwide, then you would want to attach his name to it. Doesn't excite me just yet. It doesn't put a shock of electricity in me. However, I think a Bride of Frankenstein movie is the big takeaway from the story for me, is that we're going to get that flick.
All right, what's next?
It's Monday, which means it's time for the weekend box office. With an estimated $100.2 million domestic and a massive $432.3 million from 63 international markets, The Fate of the Furious took the #1 spot at the weekend box office with $532.5 million worldwide, beating the all-time global opening previously held by Star Wars The Force Awakens, $529 million. The Boss Baby took the #2 spot with $15.5 million, with Beauty and the Beast taking the #3 spot with $13.6 million domestic. Beauty and the Beast also added $22 million internationally, as its worldwide total climbs to $1.043 billion. Smurfs: The Lost Village finished in the #4 spot with an estimated $6.5 million, as it dropped 51% in its second weekend, with a domestic total now standing at $24.7 million. And rounding out the top 5 is WB's Going in Style, bringing in an estimated $6.35 million, with a domestic total now at $23.3 million. Mark, thoughts on Fate of the Furious' record-breaking debut at the box office?
Ashley, the buzzword is family. Look at all of those family movies up there. You got Smurfs, you got Beauty and the Beast, Boss Baby, and of course the movie that celebrates family, or lack thereof in this case, The Fate of the Furious. And people are going to look at this domestic number and say, well, that's nowhere near what the 7th one did. The 7th one made $147 million opening weekend just here in the States, but that was such a confluence of tragic and extenuating circumstances that you would never want to recreate that again. But look at what it did worldwide. I mean, this thing is breaking worldwide records. It shattered, I think, Star Wars The Force Awakens' worldwide record. So that means that there's still an appetite for this movie. They're still clamoring for it. There's plenty of gas left in the tank here. Kristian, they definitely put the horse before the cart when they made this movie.
the gas in the tank thing, though. Was that? Did you mean to do that?
Did I? I didn't even know. I honestly
It
didn't even
just
realize
comes
that.
out of you.
Pay attention to your own thoughts before you
if
insult
Jahns
someone.
is going to set the bar right here. I was insulting you because you said something stupid. I had a great legendary pun playing off of Jahns' one from the previous story.
I was going to say the worst thing is you interrupted his compliment. You go, Mark. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say, no man pulls off a leather jacket and a great shock of hair. I think when Bride of Frankenstein comes out, can you do a little white streak up there? I think it'd be fantastic.
I might.
Look. I think the $100 million opening is kind of a telltale thing of a couple things. Number one, You look at the last one at Part 7, where it's like $147 million. I think that did have a little bit to do with Paul Walker. Although Paul Walker, a lot of months were in between when Paul Walker died and when the movie finally came out. But I think it was also a culmination of the fact that 5 and 6 were so good, and the audience loved them so much. So it was a perfect storm of events that came together to make that. And while 7 was good, I liked it a lot. I didn't like it as much as 6. I didn't like it as much as 5. And I think this number dropping almost 50% is kind of telling, or in this case about 33%, is kind of telling that I think there might start to be a little bit of fatigue with this franchise at this point, perhaps a little. Now, a lot of people are jumping up and down, and I get it because the headline looks sexy. Fate of the Furious breaks the worldwide opening weekend box office record. That's a sexy headline, but it means absolutely squat. It means nothing. And here's why. And this is why when a lot of people ask me, and I ask all of us really, when you're doing opening weekend box office numbers, why do you only talk about domestic? Why do you only talk about domestic? Because of this. No two movies open in the exact same markets on opening weekend. So here's an example. Like some people saying, well, Fate of the Furious just broke, the Force Awakens worldwide box office. Yeah, Force Awakens didn't open in China the same weekend it opened in North America. That was different. So you cannot compare like the opening weekend worldwide of one movie to the opening weekend worldwide of another movie when, Furious is opening up 60, 61, 63 international markets at one time. Another movie may be opening up in just 8 markets one week, 20 the next week, 20 more the next week. So it's completely frivolous to talk about worldwide numbers on opening weekend. Where you do talk about worldwide numbers is when the movie's finishing its run. And then you sit back and say, this movie made $800 million worldwide. This one made $1.2 billion. That's where it comes into play. So I'm not at all impressed by the opening, weekend worldwide numbers because it doesn't mean anything. However, it's another Fast and Furious film that opens north of 100 million. And even though it may be a bit of a drop from the last one, it is a film opening at over 100 million worldwide. And regardless of how many markets it opened in, right now, Fate of the Furious stands at over $500 million worldwide. That is something to celebrate if you're Universal, no matter what.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that after its run in general, we're going to have a movie that's it's going to be close to $1 billion again too. I mean, whether or not it's taps out at 300 here, 350 here, that's going to be pretty damn close. So it is pretty successful. I mean, the fact that it opened up at 100 as opposed to 130, 140, whatever it might be. Who cares? This is the seventh movie. This is the 8th movie. How many movies in this thing is there? This is the 8th movie.
This is the
8th movie. This is the 8th movie.
8 of the Furious.
Like I said,
8.
My brain is broken.
Well,
today,
it's
so
the
this
9th
is
if
8.
you count Point Break.
Yeah. So right. So
10th if you count the remake.
that many movies. That many movies in the franchise, and to still be making this kind of money is really impressive. I think that the big story in here is those stinking Smurfs. I mean, it really is. The fact that this was a way that we wanted to have the Smurfs actually come out in the first place, but you put out so many turds in that live action thing for so many years, people are beaten to death, and it's hurt the name. It really has hurt the name because had you released that type of version of the Smurfs 10 years ago, it would have done a lot better because you're not thinking of Doogie running around with them in New York on top of cabs. You're just thinking, because what we all like about that one Smurfs movie, if anything, was the opening animation part of it. And then it just went into live action and they crapped the bed.
I did kind of like Hank Azaria's Gargamel.
No, you did not.
I wouldn't have
kinda
minded
like
his
Hank.
voice in
Yeah,
this
his-
one.
yeah.
But yeah, it sucks.
Yeah, $6.5 million on its second weekend. It's just a travesty. Any other thoughts on the box office?
Oh no! I mean, in a world where Boss Baby's crushing a legacy like Smurfs, that's like all you need to say about Smurfs. As for Fate of the Furious, it's true. I like that you finished off, John, saying like it still made $500 million. So there is that. I want to see what it does next weekend when it's up against the monsters like Free Fire, Phoenix Forgotten, and I've been looking forward to those forever. I've been following them on. We'll see.
I've been looking forward to Free Fire for a long time.
So
They didn't
have I.
get close to Fate of the Furious. That's going to do well. That might be number 1 until we get Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, which is very exciting to say that movie's coming out in a couple of weeks here, kids. So summer's right around the corner, and Fate of the Furious. These movies love kicking off the summer. $100 million opening weekend domestically is an announcement that the summer's here.
I think we can say we're going to go see Guardians of the Galaxy 2 tonight. So make sure you're following us on Twitter because we'll tweet out what we thought about it. Review. We can't put up the review till next week, but if you follow us on Twitter, we'll be allowed to tweet out what we thought of Guardians of the Galaxy 2. We're going to go see that tonight. But you bring up a great point, Jeremy, is that not only did it make $100 million, but it's going to roll into. That was not a pun intended. It's going to roll into its second week against Free Fire, Phoenix Forgotten. The promise actually looks awesome, but it doesn't look like it's going to be eating up the box office percentages. So you're probably going to see Fate of the Furious maybe with like a 40% drop only, still make it like another $60 million next weekend. So a lot of things to look to in there. All right, guys, we reached that part of the show now for Buy and Sell. Here's how this works. In front of her Ash, she's got a few other items in the world of movie news. She's going to run them down. Then those of us at the table are simply going to say whether we buy it or sell it. So, Ashley, what do we got?
In a new interview with Collider for the release of Free Fire, Star Armie Hammer revealed that a Man from U.N.C.L.E. sequel is currently being written by the original film's co-writer. Producer Lionel Wigram responded to Hammer's query about a sequel, confirming one was being written, with Hammer saying he is asked over and over again about a follow-up. The film left the door open for future adventures, along with Gabby, played by Alicia Vikander, and Alexander Waverly, played by Hugh Grant. The script is now being written. No green light for the movie has been set. Kristian, buy or sell a sequel to Man from U.N.C.L.E.?
I really enjoyed Man from U.N.C.L.E. I thought it was a really fun movie, a bit underrated. I'm going to sell the sequel. And I sell the sequel because I'm looking at it more on a business side of things, too. I think that it's a big risk for Warner Brothers, I think, who did it. I just don't see them being able to make a big return because the first movie didn't do very well at all. Putting them all together again and whether or not Guy Ritchie is going to do it, we'll see. I certainly wouldn't mind seeing it. I just don't know if anybody is really super excited to see a sequel. I mean, the people that saw the movie, the limited people that saw it, were probably everyone here that saw it is probably going to say, "I buy it because I want to see that movie because I liked the first one." I just don't think money-wise it's a smart decision.
I am one of those people who loved this first movie. I thought it was fabulous. And I love the chemistry between the two leads, between Superman and your future Nightwing Batman, whoever it's going to be. I mean, look, I thought it was well written. I thought the direction was terrific. I thought the leads in it had great chemistry, and it was fun and entertaining. And I'm going to buy this. You're absolutely right. This is a movie that lost the studio money. But it does warm the cockles of my cold, dry heart that the studio can still look at a movie that say, you know what, we think our people did a great job making that movie, and we think the limited amount of people who saw it enjoyed it. We are going to take a risk. And it is a risk for them to do this, but this is a risk I'm glad they're willing to take, and maybe it'll come up short, but I applaud them for doing it, so for me, this is a big buy.
I think just looking at that picture and imagining that is Superman and Nightwing, the characters right there. Superman's gone to a dark place, my friends. I'm actually buying it, too. The first movie didn't blow my socks off. I thought it had enjoyment in it, but in the end, I was like, all right, you know, it's fine, but I am curious to see if they can take what I personally consider some of the flaws in the first one, iron them out, and make something that might land a little better. I agree, business-wise, I didn't know that this movie was ever even eligible for a sequel.
I didn't think so.
Right, so now that we're getting it, though, I'm like, yeah, I'd like to see what you got. Could be good, could be bad, but again, if they make it good, I love me a good spy movie with some comedy.
I don't enjoy agreeing with a Seahawks fan this much. Jeremy thinks Richard Sherman is Jesus. I don't, but I see eye to eye with you on this subject as well, my friend. I did not love Man from U.N.C.L.E. I liked the potentiality in it, but I didn't think the movie was great. Having said that, I would like to see a sequel of this, and I think that there's a lot of ways you can make a sequel and not spend as much money as you did on the first one, make it a smaller film, because The Man from U.N.C.L.E. came out in the middle of summer, or maybe towards the end, and it got buried. So if you have a different release date, this movie comes out around like a January or February, or even a March, I think that's a prime time to have this thing come out, get a little bit more attention, more eyeballs on it, and it's one of those films that you see every so often where it doesn't have a great box office track record, but it came out on streaming, and a lot of people started talking about it again. People wanted to check this movie out. They might have done it from the comfort of their own home for free, but I think that there's enough interest in Man from U.N.C.L.E. to attempt a sequel. Don't spend as much money as you did on the first one. Just make a good movie, and I think people are going to see it, and it'll do better than the first one did.
And Warner Brothers might also be trying to double up on the clout that both, like Jeremy was kidding about with Nightwing and Superman, or whether or not Armie Hammer has been in the discussion for something. So maybe by the time the sequel comes out, he might be in a DC movie. Henry Cavill's the Superman is coming back. We know that how big the role is going to be in Justice League or even Part 2 by the time this thing comes out. Maybe they're hoping. I don't think it really has anything to do with it because it certainly hasn't helped with like Robert Downey Jr. and the Judge and certain things, but they might be trying to double up.
I think that did help Robert Downey Jr. and Sherlock Holmes, though. So I think with other movies like that,
sure.
and Alicia Vikander is going to be an even bigger star than she is now, too.
absolutely.
And we might get more Hugh Grant. Bring him back. I love 9 months.
All right, what's next?
While the development of the next Star Wars films remains a mystery, one thing we do know is that Rian Johnson's The Last Jedi and Colin Trevorrow's Episode 9 will continue the tale of the Skywalker saga. But what will happen after Episode 9, and will Lucasfilm continue the Skywalker saga in possible Episodes 10, 11, and 12? In an interview with ABC at Celebration, Kathleen Kennedy gave a bit of insight into what she might have planned beyond 2019, saying, I certainly foresee movies past 9. Whether or not we carry on the Skywalker saga, George always intended 9 movies, and whether we continue that or not is something we're talking about right now. If the story warrants it, we'll absolutely do it. If it actually inspires new ideas, then we'll probably head in that direction. We just don't know yet. John, buy or sell another run of Skywalker films based on Kathleen Kennedy's comments?
No, I sell it, and I don't think her comments are saying that they're going to do it. If anything, it kind of leans more towards that they're going to move on from the Skywalkers, and so they should. There's this big myth out there, even among Star Wars fans, that Lucasfilm has said that Star Wars will always be about the Skywalker family. No, they have not, especially not the new regime that is there, and nor should they. Look, the story of Star Wars spans thousands of years of fantastic storytelling, whether you're going into the Old Republic or now we're into the new era. The story of America is not the story of the Kennedys. There is a window. Oh, were you going to go there? Oh, damn it. I'm sorry, I didn't know that.
Christian saw it in the eye. He's like, I know I put the horse before the cart, but I got this
Keep going
Kennedy
with that one, huh?
America thing.
Gotta keep going
I was
with
like,
it.
there is a window of the American timeline where the Kennedys are a very important part of the overall story of America. FDR is not the story of America. He played a part in it. The NFL is not about the Patriots, although we're kind of living in the Patriots time
There's a
right
lot
now.
more history to the NFL than the stupid Patriots.
So, I mean, the story of Star Wars will not always be, nor should it always be, about the Skywalkers. Whether you're going and looking at the Rebels TV show right now, some of the other spin-off stuff they're talking about, the Solo movie's not going to have anything to do with the Skywalkers per se. It is time to move on from the Skywalkers. Again, until we see Episode 8 and 9 and see how it's all set up, maybe you can still have a segment of the Skywalker family there or not. But no, Star Wars is not all about the Skywalkers. Star Wars is also about Plagueis and Darth Bane and, going all the way. Like, there's so much to it. It's time for us to expand our understanding a bit. And I think Kathleen Kennedy is alluding to that point. I don't know, Mark, what do you think?
I think that Mark Hamill just liked the tweet like 2 minutes ago. So I wanted to give you about the Skywalkers. But look, what is Kathleen Kennedy supposed to come out and do? And this goes back to the point we were making when we were talking about whether Carrie Fisher or General Leia is going to appear in Episode 9, is that she literally cannot say what is going to happen going in the future, because it's going to completely take away. If she's like, oh, don't worry, Episodes 10, 11, and 12 are right around the corner, and they're going to involve Skywalkers. Wink. That totally would confirm that either Kylo Ren is going to survive all these movies or that Rey is indeed a Skywalker, and it gives us too much information. They like keeping lineage secret, so allow them to do that. Do you really think that Lucasfilm is going to look at the box office receipts from The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, and whatever Episode 9 is titled, and say, yeah, I think we're good there? Of course they're going to continue the story of these new characters that we have. Whether or not the Skywalkers factor into that, it's something I would love to see, because I never want to see the Skywalkers not have a place in Star Wars films. I know that's going to happen eventually, whether we go back to the Old Republic or we're telling the Han Solo story. That's going to be fun, even though there's probably no Skywalkers in there. I love as much Skywalker as I can possibly get, but I'm not sure it's going to happen in 10, 11, or 12. There will be allusions to them for sure, and we might get some Force ghosting, but I don't think it's going to continue to be a Skywalker story forever.
Jeremy.
Yeah, I think this side of the table's on the same page, and this side of the table's on the same page, because that was well said. It's like Kathleen Kennedy, when she's asked a question like that, I buy her response because it was a perfect response. She's like, well, maybe, maybe not, because if she gives a definitive answer, half the fun of Star Wars is the chatter, the discussions you have with friends, the online chatter. If she gives an answer, that eliminates a lot of that chatter, and they just shot themselves in the foot in a way. So I like her response, but I do agree. If you watch The Force Awakens, you see it kind of going away from the Skywalker arc, but you can't just have one movie do it. You know, there has to be a massaging. It's like, okay, a little bit of a phase out here, a little bit of a phase out there, and by the end, it's probably not about them anymore. I do love the fact that she was like, George always intended 9 movies when you can find footage of Lucas going, there is no episode 7. It's done. You know, so I don't know how those two came about, but I thought it was a well-handled response on her part.
Kristian.
What's the actual buy or sell? Again, is it a matter whether or not we're going to see
Whatever you want.
Do you buy that according to Kennedy's comments, we're going to see the continuation of the Skywalker story?
I'm going to buy it. I actually think we are going to see the continuation, but people think that means directly right after, episode, is it going to be 10, 11, and 12? No, because Skywalker kind of remind me of family that we've had here in American history, the Kennedys.
That's a great point.
Right. No, but I mean, it's sooner or later there will be another Kennedy that will be in politics. There will be. It just happens, and it's exactly what's going to happen with the Skywalkers. Now, whether or not it's 20 years from now, and it's episode 18, 19, 20, and it's about a new batch of Skywalkers, and 100 years ago, my great grandfather. Yeah, we're not done with the Skywalkers. They're going to want to keep doing more Star Wars movies, but I think they're going to take the opportunity. I'm kind of agreeing with both you guys. I think what they're going to do with episode 10, 11, 12 is focus on brand new characters, and I think that a lot of people are going to be happy to see that. And I also don't necessarily think that the next batch of movies are going to be 10, 11, 12. Right now, we get a standalone movie, a Saga film, a standalone movie, Saga. I think we're going to get standalone for a while, and then jump back into the Saga films. And that doesn't necessarily mean that we have to follow the Skywalkers. Plus, going to what you guys are saying, it's very possible that Kathleen Kennedy's like, well, we don't really even have episode 9 all tied up. We don't know. There's going to be some kind of big reveal in episode 8, whether it links into all the Skywalkers, whether there's a new Skywalker that we don't know about. And we might all change our tune by episode 9 and go, oh, they kind of have to continue it now. So who the hell knows?
Actually, that's a really good point. There's nothing better than binging 6 seasons of television, and in the first 3 seasons, there's that character, then he goes away and then comes back in season 6. Could be like what they do with the Skywalkers.
Yeah.
I like that.
I think one of the amazing things, one of the many incredible things The Force Awakens was able to do is we had all these classic characters coming back, and we were excited to go see them in a theater again. When you sit down and you watch that movie, they're talking about these classic characters. They're talking about how Luke has vanished, and we're looking for him, and we might have a piece that's going to complete the puzzle to go find him. But we're on an adventure with new people for most of that movie, and it's great, and it's an adventure that I want to continue to see. So they're in good hands, and we can continue to go see these adventures. But I agree with Kristian, where I buy these comments because I don't want to see the Skywalkers completely go away. Because yes, Star Wars is much bigger than just the Skywalkers, but even if you go back to before the prequels, and they're talking about this prophecy, there's this prophecy of this one that's going to bring balance to the Force, and this Force legendary baby that may or may not have been Anakin. But that prophecy has been around for a while, too. So whether or not you knew the name Skywalker, they've been waiting for the Skywalkers for a long time in the Star Wars universe. And I don't think that goes away in 10, 11, and 12.
All right, what's next?
A second trailer has been released for Anna Lily Amirpour's sophomore effort, The Bad Batch. The movie features Arlen, played by Suki Waterhouse, alongside Jason Momoa, Keanu Reeves, Jim Carrey, and Giovanni Ribisi, and is described as a psychedelic dystopian love story with cannibals. The Bad Batch premiered at a number of film festivals last year and was met with enough positive reviews that Neon and Annapurna Pictures slated the film for an early summer release. It is set now to hit theaters on June 23rd. Kristian, buy or sell the new trailer for The Bad Batch?
I'm going to buy it. I think that I'd probably be the only person buying it, but I will be buying it. I think it looks creepy. It looks weird, and it looks different, and I want to see it. And it does look like Momoa is back from his Game of Thrones character. He looks exactly like him. But I'm going to say that this is something completely. It wasn't even on my radar. I never saw the first trailer, so this is the second trailer that I saw. And
don't watch the first trailer.
Not good.
I know you pretty well. You're not buying the first trailer.
Okay, well this one I bought because I want to see it. It's got a kind of a B movie feel to it, but there's still something a little. It's got that indie, I don't know, high water feel to it in a certain way mixed together. So I'm gonna buy it.
This is a horrible trailer. Is it different? Yes, it's very different. But so is a paper plate with a piece of human feces and a birthday candle and a big rose sticking out of it. That's different.
Well, it depends on where you're going, Hollywood.
That doesn't make it watchable. Doesn't mean you want to sit there and stare at the trailer. Look, this movie might be great. The movie, again, we're simply talking about the trailer. The movie may be awesome. I thought the trailer was just a lot of random imagery, and it didn't do anything at all to motivate me to think, oh, wow, I want to go see this. So for me, it's a sell.
You know, I gotta sell the trailer too. I think it's interesting that Kristian is you're not burdened with the first trailer, so I feel like we're all going to we're gonna lump
the word burdened.
We're gonna lump the two together. I like the description of was a psychedelic dystopian love story with cannibals. Great, because I didn't know what it was about until I heard that. The trailer doesn't tell you that, and there are trailers out there I like. Like you look at any of the Star Wars teaser trailers, Last Jedi, Force Awakens, you can't know what the movie's about, but it has a legacy to springboard off of, so you're like,
Right.
I kind of get what it's going to be
You can
about.
piece it together.
Right. This one, it's brand new. I'd like to know what it's about. I don't. It does have a great cast. So did movie 43, so gonna sell it.
First of all, John, I've said this 1,000 times. I am sorry about your birthday cake, okay? I did my best. It was homemade. I am going to take a risk, and with the right combination of NyQuil, Mountain Dew, and airplane glue, I am going to buy this trailer like Kristian did. Yes, because it was such an improvement over the first one, and it's a different look. It's something that looks very like Mad Max Fury Road meets The Hills Have Eyes, and I'm not saying it's going to be as good or as scary as either one of those movies. It looks crazy. It looks intense. And again, I'm not saying I'm that excited about seeing this movie, being in a theater with this thing for 2 hours, but it intrigues me. And one of the main reasons it does is because we're seeing these characters played by actors that we know pretty well. Keanu Reeves, Jason Momoa, Giovanni Ribisi, Jim Carrey, one of my all-time favorites, doing something very, very different. I want to see what they bring to this very psychedelic, different world that we're going to get. I may want to leave the theater within 5 minutes. And Kristian and I may do that. We may use our one pass a year to get the hell away from this thing as fast as we can. But I thought this trailer was a nice job of separating itself from all the other run of trailers that we get that are for big comic book movies or outer space movies or whatever else you have coming out this summer. This was different, and sometimes that's what I like in a trailer.
All right, guys, so I'm going to remind you that this is not the only show on Collider Video today. We got a whole bunch of other good stuff coming along as well. Today, a brand new episode of TV Talk goes up. Make sure you check out Josh McCougan and his crew as they talk about all the stuff going on in the world of television. We put up a whole bunch of stuff of our Star Wars Celebration coverage. Go check it out, including a special championship Star Wars Trivia Schmodown that went down at Celebration. It's up there. Don't forget, parts 1 and part 2 of the free-for-all are also up right now. And, of course, a brand new episode of Awesome Tacular with Jeremy Jahns went up this Friday, as it does every single Friday. Well, listen, guys, before we get to the mailbag, want to let you know we're doing the show live, so we'd like to save a little bit of time at the end to take your live Twitter questions. You can start tweeting in your questions now. Just make sure you're following us on Twitter at Collider Video. Fire in those questions. Wendy will pick a couple up, but before we do, we got a mailbag to get to. So, Ashley, what do we got?
Declan writes, hey everyone at Collider, hope you all had a great Easter weekend. So with the recent teaser trailer for Star Wars The Last Jedi and Luke Skywalker's famous last words, it's time for the Jedi to end, Mark Hamill has said himself in an interview during Celebration that Luke Skywalker could possibly turn to the dark side in the upcoming film. Do you guys think that it would be possible that Luke Skywalker could actually turn to the dark side? And if so, how or why?
I don't think so, but I think what you're going to do is you're going to see Luke as Grumpy Yoda when we met Yoda in Empire. No. Like, hey, train this kid. No. And I think that's basically what we're going to get. I think he's going to be, he has been through, this is a Luke Skywalker who's not that same kid who's staring up at, Tattoo 1 and Tattoo 2, the two suns over Tatooine and thinking about the future. This is a dude who has seen the crap. All right? He watched his father die in his own arms. He found out his dad was the cause of genocide of billions across the galaxy. He was training his own nephew who betrayed him and murdered all of his other students. And he's been in hiding. He's like, double F to you, world, and he took off. I think that's the Luke we're going to find. He's going to be hardened. He's going to be gristless. He's going to be mad at the world. But I don't think we're going to see him go to the dark side per se. I don't know. What do you see?
No, I don't think he's going to the dark side at all. And I think when we did that breakdown video, that's exactly, I felt the same way. I think that line, the Jedi need to end, that's in the very beginning. Rey comes up to him, asks him to train. He's like, nope, they need to end. Thanks for coming by. See you next time.
You can't win, Rock.
Yeah, and then she convinces him and she trains him. I think that he's going to be, it would be silly. It would be like, well, who should we train? It's like a bad WWE angle. It's like, who's going to go bad now? They'll never see Luke coming, and then Luke winds up being the bad guy. It's like, no, Rey is a better chance to turn dark. I think that would be a very interesting and ballsy move. And Kylo switching back is something repetitive, but has a better chance to do. Luke doing it would be, especially now that Carrie Fisher has passed.
What do you think?
You know, it's like Kathleen Kennedy when she was like, you know, it's all, maybe it is, maybe it isn't about this, you know, because you can't give a definitive answer. Again, he just said, well, anything's possible because it gets people talking about it. Case in point, here we are talking about it. If he had said, no, he's not going to go bad, I don't feel like it'd be interesting enough to talk about right now on this show. But the fact that he was like, anything's possible, here we are. So he did his job well. Good job, Mark Hamill. I do think the concepts of light side, dark side are going to be a little different in this new trilogy. I really do. That's just my own headspace, but I think it's going to be interesting where they go.
John, you hit the point right on the head. Luke's a jaded dude in this new trailer. You know, I heard him in the new trailer, and I was like, somebody hasn't been to Tosche Station in a long time. He's not the guy that tips the Domino's driver anymore. You know, he's the old guy at Denny's who gets out his tip calculator and just leaves 8%. But when you look at him going to the dark side, I do not think that they're going to make that play. I don't want them to make that play, and I really don't want Rey to go to the dark side either. Not just because I root for my heroes to stay heroes, but also because one of the things that The Force Awakens did great, and I hope the rest of this new trilogy keeps in line with, is that it furthered the legacy of our beloved characters, but it didn't taint anything in their past. And I think that Luke, if he was training Ben and he goes to the dark side, and then he starts training Rey, and she goes to the dark side, that's going to take the legend of Luke Skywalker down for me a little bit. And that's really going to piss me off. Because this is Luke Skywalker. This is still the same person that I grew up loving from the classic trilogy. And if he becomes a great Jedi who saved the galaxy twice, and then he becomes like a worse teacher than my third grade shop teacher, I didn't take shop in third grade, but you get the point. I don't want to see him be that befuddled of a instructor and have the same problems that befell Obi-Wan, except twice. Because Obi-Wan tried to train Anakin, then Obi-Wan could redeem himself with a certain point because Anakin went bad, but he was able to shepherd young Luke until he got passed off to Yoda. I don't want to see Luke try to train two Jedi late in his career and have both of them turn evil.
You know what I would like to see, though, too, from the Knights of the Republic storyline is, if you're familiar with what happens with Revan, I would love to see that that's the storyline they go with Rey. I think that would be really cool.
All right, guys, I said we'd take a few minutes to take your live Twitter questions. We're going to do that right now. So, Wendy, what have you picked out?
The first one's from Jorge Lizalde, who writes, what if Leia has a double for security reasons in Episode 9 as Padme?
I mean, when you watch the prequels, it's not a ridiculous thing. I don't feel like that's the way they're going to go.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah, I feel like it's one of those, hey, like, because Padme was like, oh, people might want to kill her. This one's like, she's a leader of a resistance. Of course they're going to want to. So I feel like cat's out of the bag with her.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, yeah, I'm a leader. Yeah, come at me, I guess.
Yeah, and it just seems like this new trilogy, they want to separate themselves, you know, being very gracious about it, but separate themselves from a lot of the things that were in the prequels, whether it's midichlorians or it's having a body double and having that kind of trick. So I don't think that's the way they'd go.
The one thing, though, that I will say with that I don't agree with is and I wouldn't have said this 6 days ago. I noticed something at Celebration this weekend. They are embracing the prequel era again. Now, 2 years ago when we went to Celebration 2015, there were no mentions. There was no standalones. There was no displays for prequels. Nothing. This had a lot. I mean, Battlefront stuff, bringing Hayden Christensen and Ian McDermott on stage together. I don't think that's the reason why they won't do the body double, but I do think that you're going to see a lot more prequel mentioning and tying together as these movies start to unfold.
Really? I think they'll go further back in time. But I just don't think, because I think that they embrace the prequels at Celebration because of that number in front of it, the 40th anniversary, and we're celebrating all things Star Wars. And I thought it was worth it. I thought it was warranted to do that, to have Hayden Christensen come back and celebrate those movies. But as far as specific plot points, I don't think they want to touch midichlorians.
They still didn't bring Ahmed Best out on stage
Well,
to say
there's
hello.
certain things they're definitely not going to touch. Those types of things. But I'm just saying, like, for example, I do think that Hayden Christensen as a Force Ghost is going to show up.
Oh, me too.
I do.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I mean. I mean that they're not just going to shy away from it. When Force Awakens came out, they were just staying away from it completely.
Which was the smart move they had to do, because they want to make sure, hey, guys, the Star Wars that you knew and love is back.
I still don't think you're ever going to hear the word midichlorians ever
I
said on
agree
a
with
big
that.
screen.
I agree with that.
I
because
think it's
there's certain
less
things that are
characters.
gonna-
I think characters are going to come back. I think Ewan's going to come back. I think Hayden's going to come back. As far as specific plot points, I don't think that's
Okay, we only got like a couple minutes left, so let's get through as many Twitter questions as we can.
Star Wars.
All right, this one is not a Star Wars question. Return of the Mac says, in Norse myth and comics, Hela is Loki's daughter, but Kate is much older than Tom. do you think this will play out in Thor 3?
Well, look, we've already seen that neither DC nor Marvel, nor should they, give two flying squats about what's continuity and what is canon in the comic books. They're making their movies, and they're going to use their characters however they see, so I wouldn't worry about that at all.
Yeah, I got to brush up on my Norse mythology.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, it's how many times have we seen that? It's like this, Mystique and Nightcrawler, related, not though.
All right, what's next?
Okay. Albert Rodriguez writes, I saw Fast and the Furious, having never seen any of the previous films. Why does this franchise get a pass from critics and not Transformers?
I think I saw that comment on my video.
Because it's fun. Because it's fun to watch, and Transformers is applauding. The comedy misfires, and you can't really tell what's going on with a lot of the action. As great as the effects are, I can't separate the good robots from the bad robots. With Fast and Furious, you can say that they're stupid, and a lot of them are, but you have fun along the ride, so it enjoys itself, whereas Transformers just feels like a sickening plotting mess to me most of the time.
And Fast and the Furious has really done a great job of not taking itself serious, and has also made itself look like this kind of over-the-top cartoon, as where the way that Michael Bay shoots these things, it's like he's taking it super serious, the slow motion explosions, but then he throws in like these really these shots of I can't even explain it sometimes because it's just so stupid. Well, it's like it's not in the way that Fast and Furious is like, oh, you smash yourself in the head with a hammer and throw popcorn in your face, and it's amazingly dumb fun. It's just not fun, like Mark said. It's work.
I actually brought this specifically up in my Fate of the Furious review. Here's why Transformers doesn't work, and here's why Fate of the Furious does. I said this before after we saw the last Transformers movie. When all you have is big explosions and action kind of stuff with no dramatic point, with characters you don't care about, or any relevance to the storytelling, it just becomes visual noise. Mm-hmm. The difference between Fate of the Furious and Transformers is this. In Fate of the Furious, it is not a cinematic masterpiece, but in all this franchise they've done, one of the things they've done well is this. They've gotten the audience to care and know these characters. We know these characters, and we've come to care about them. If you don't believe that, look at the outpouring that happened when Paul Walker passed away. He was, at best, a B-level actor. But he was a character in a film franchise that the audience grew to know and care about. They know these people. When you have action and big set pieces happening that involves directly the fate of characters you know and care about, it becomes fun and engaging. And as the audience, you're now into it. When the action on screen is directly a playthrough of the dramatic plot points you're trying to do, it becomes engaging. When you have a bunch of indiscernible robots just having flying metal and explosions everywhere, it's just visual noise. We don't give a crap about any of these human characters, especially running around in these Transformers. We don't give two squats of piss whether they live or die. We don't care about if any of these robots live or die. Whereas in Fast and the Furious, they did that part right. See, look, just having a stupid movie with explosions does not mean it's fun. There's other things that go into it that make it fun. Transformers, other than the first one, which I loved, is not a fun franchise. That's just my thoughts.
Well, John, I'm kind of miffed you took my entire script. I was going to say exactly that.
Were you going to go, do you measure your piss in squats too?
I do.
I will give you a maximum of 3 squats of piss.
All right, last question of the day.
All right, this one comes from Spencer Lee, who writes, besides meeting the fans, what was your favorite celebration moment or panel?
Oh, the 40th.
It was the 40th.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think seeing those curtains open up
With John Williams.
and John
behind
Williams
it.
playing.
Not a crowd.
I've had the pleasure of being able to see John Williams at the Hollywood Bowl a few times, and it's always been great. But there was just something else. It was similar to when we got to see the Force Awakens trailer. That he was that energy in there, but it was the nice words that were said about Carrie Fisher from her daughter. And then that alone would have been cool. Like, oh, that was really nice. And then the curtains open up. John Williams starts playing Leia's theme and played a couple more. There was like a sea of tears and sniffling and respect. It was just something very special.
Yeah, if you guys did a fantasy draft and so you took the 40th anniversary, the John Williams part, I'm going to take the 40th anniversary. When Harrison Ford came out and he said hi to everybody, and it was great, and seeing George Lucas was awesome. But Harrison Ford, then he walked up to Peter Mayhew and he gave him a big hug.
Yeah,
and it was like, oh, that's Han and Chewie. We're home one more time. I thought it was really, really sweet.
I didn't even know I had to pick a part of the 40th. The entirety of the 40th anniversary panel it was complete magic. And like I've said in a few videos at this point, but I'm going to repeat myself, it wasn't like prequels, original trilogy, and remakequels that Lucas calls them. It was just all Star Wars, and everyone was there for the same thing. And no one was there to talk trash. It was just everyone's like, oh, you like the prequels? Great. I like the original trilogy. Let's hang out. You know, it was a lot of fun. I liked that kind of energy in the room.
Definitely the Harrison Ford thing going to Peter May. Hey, remember we were at the premiere of The Force Awakens. Like half of the after party, Ford was just hanging out with Peter Mayhew, and that was great to see.
Buddies.
To me, there were so many amazing moments. Obviously, the trailer was a great moment. The fans, the panels, all that kind of stuff. But I think the part where I got most choked up is her name Billie Lourd?
Yeah.
When Carrie's daughter walked out on that stage. I'm getting choked up thinking about it.
Yeah.
To me, when she came out to talk about her mom, to these throngs of people that beloved her mom, I felt great for the audience and I felt great for her. And it was a special moment that I thought for sure was the walk-off home run. And then the curtains opened and there's Sean Williams playing Leia's theme. But yeah, for me, it was that moment that Billie Lourd came out. It was just a really, really special moment that I will probably remember for the rest of my life. All right, guys, that'll do it for us as this group of people's first returning movie talk since we got back for Star Wars Celebration. Hey, special thanks to all the rest of the Collider crew who kept the ship floating on Movie Talk Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday when a whole lot of the production people and the on-camera people were off in Orlando. They did a fantastic job, and thank you guys for supporting them as well. I want to thank the guys sitting at the table with me. First of all, over there, Mr. Mark Ellis. Mark, where can people find you online?
It doesn't matter where you can find me online. You guys all found us at Star Wars Celebration, and it meant the world to us to see so many fans go to the panels, come see us at the meet and greet, come watch my comedy at the Improv. We can never thank you guys enough. I'm sorry that everybody couldn't get into the panels, but it was so awesome to shake y'all's hands, take a picture with you guys, and just see you guys put a smile on my face the way that we hopefully can do to you once in a while. Thank you all so much.
Jeremy Jahns.
Yeah, that was well said, man. Meeting the fans. You guys did make the entirety of Star Wars Celebration. You can find me at Jeremy Jahns everywhere on the internet.
Yeah, it's funny because Kristian and I, before I point out Kristian, we had a fan meet and greet at this thing called Fat Fish Blue, I think was the name of the restaurant. And we figured 20, 30 people will show up for our meet and greet. So there's a few hundred people in this restaurant. They give us a little microphone. So I just want to let the people know that we're just finishing our dinner and then we're going to start the meet and greet. And so I go up to the mic and say, hey, just sorry for interrupting everybody. Which ones of you guys are here for the meet and greet? And every freaking hand in that packed place went up, and we're like Kristian was there with me.
Yeah.
What? And then there were hours of lines of people and meeting all you guys. It was just terrific. And one of the guys up the front with me doing that was this man, Mr. Kristian Harloff. Where can people find you?
I mean, Kristian Harloff on Twitter and Instagram, but just to echo what everyone else was saying, I was blown away by the amount of support and just how, I mean, the stories and the things from the stuff that you guys said that we meant to you guys and how much you guys mean to us. It was so nice to meet all of you and to really get to know a lot of you at that meet and greet, and just it was something else. And then seeing those lines for both the Schmodown and Jedi Council, and if you haven't, like John was saying, if you were there and you got turned away, or if you weren't able to make it, Celebration, they're all up on the channel right now, and that's also a credit to our great team that was working so hard to get those videos up, whether it was Dad and Dennis and Copster and then our team here. It really was it was the meaning of a team, and it was the meaning of a fantastic fan base, so thank you.
Over there we got Ashley Mova.
Back at the haters corner. Thanks for rubbing it in, guys. Sound like you guys had a good time over there. You guys can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, Ashley Mova. Happy Monday, guys.
And Wendy Lee.
The Movie Couple channel on YouTube and on Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat at Wendy Lee Zaney.
And of course, you guys can just follow me on social media, on Facebook and on Twitter, just at John Campea. That'll do it for us, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. And until tomorrow, bye-bye.
Hey guys, if you like this video, click the thumbs up button. Also, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. It'll help you stay up to date with everything we've got going on here at Collider.